All right. Welcome to this special podcast. I am Chris Stehle, the chair of marketing and communications for MOSHAPE, and this is our special Black History Month Spotlight live stream. And I'm super excited. I am joined by three very special guests. First and foremost, Darrion Cockrell, who is Missouri's 2021 Teacher of the Year. He is an elementary physical education teacher at Crestwood Elementary, and he was our 2021 MOSHAPE keynote speaker. DC, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
No problem. And we are also joined by Sean Nevills, who is our current MOSHAPE EDI chair at MOSHAPE, and he also hosts the Shape America EDI podcast. Sean, how are you doing tonight?
Always a pleasure, my man. Chris, good to be here, man.
Good to see you, my man. And a very special guest, our first opportunity to talk with Dr. Adrianna Marshall, who is the Kansas City Public Schools Coordinator of Fine Arts and Physical Education for K through 12. And congratulations, Dr. Marshall, as Kansas City Public Schools just got their accreditation. I'm sure that's some very exciting news for you guys.
Oh, we are so excited about the future.
Well, congratulations to that, and thank you for joining us. Let's go ahead and start with the questions for our audience. And we're going to just kind of popcorn these questions around and go with the flow here. So question number one, we're going to start with Sean Nevills. And Sean, what does this month mean to you?
You know, I'll break it down to two things. It's about reflection and redirection. It's about reflecting on the past successes of the African-American community, the Black community. It's about, really thinking about where we've come from, the good and the bad. And then the redirection piece is about what's next. We understand the strides we've made, but there's always work to be done. We have to keep focusing our sights forward. What's next? What do we need to do better within our own communities, in our homes? And how can we get more advocates on board to be a part of the work that we're doing for ourselves?
Amen.
Thank you for sharing that, Sean. And DC, what about you? What does this month mean to you?
I mean, almost piggybacking off of what Sean said, I think most importantly, just reflection, man. Definitely recognition as well. I think a lot of times in today's society, people are always talking about giving people their roses. And, a lot of these people that we were recognizing, they never got their roses. They were never, recognized or just represented with the respect that they should have for what they gave our country. So, these students and what they're learning today, when they learn about Rosa Parks, they should also know about, Claudia Colvin. If they're learning about inventions and things like that, they need to know about Garrett Morgan and how he invented the stoplight, like all these different things that these kids don't know. So reflection, recognition, and just education, letting these kids know, the power that we have and the impact that we've had on this great country.
Thank you for sharing that, DC. And Dr. Marshall, what does this month mean to you?
Well, I really think it's about celebration. The celebrations that are going on in our community, the celebrations that are going on nationally and even internationally. What I love is how social media has really impacted us, the way we look at African-American history, because we are finding out about a lot of people we had no idea made such a big impact on our lives. And it just makes me just inspired to just keep going. And I also think it's, about the present, but just also the future, where we're going to go next, how we're going to take all the hard work that our ancestors have done and how we're going to use that to influence the future. So it's all about celebration for me.
Well, thank you three for sharing. And, we're just starting this stream. So if any of our guests have any comments or questions they want to ask our panel, please do. As we already have somebody, Reese F. says unity, celebrate, reflecting. So thank you for chiming in there. That's, what all three of you are saying, echoing there. So please share some comments. If you have questions for our panel, we will do the best within our time restraints to answer those. Anna Forsalito mentioned, where are we going next? I love the celebration. I love it. So let's continue moving forward here with question number 2 for our panel. The person that's going to start this one off is going to be DC. Who is the most influential person to you and why?
I'm definitely going to say my son. I think, people who know my story and know how I grew up, I never had a father in my life. So just being a father now and understanding the importance of me being a Black positive male role model in this life and holding myself accountable and making sure that I represent him as a father and just my students as well, just as a good Black man, because a lot of times these kids don't get to experience a Black educator, let alone a Black man. I want to make sure that I'm leading in a good light. So, when they do leave my hallways and they do come in contact with other Black people, they know that, this is a cool dude. I had a good experience with my teacher, and I want to make sure I keep moving forward with that. So my son, man, he definitely is my shining light and keeps me grounded.
I appreciate you saying cool dude too, DC. We all know how you are, man. So I appreciate your answer there. Dr. Marshall, who is the most influential person to you and why?
Oh, it's my dad. My dad has passed away, but he was like the best father on the planet. He cared so much about my education. He cared so much about me playing the viola and just supporting me through, all the concerts and competitions and auditions. He just really made it easy for me to just do what I wanted to do with my life, just always helping me strategize. My grandmother was a college professor, and so I'm a third generation college woman in my family. And so it's just something that education and drive is just something that's very important to us. And so, definitely my father, but my whole entire family, we're just, it's really about, motivating and encouraging and like really knowing that education is the key, so yes.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall, for sharing that. And Sean, wrap us up on question number 2. Who is the most influential person to you and why?
I'm going to keep it in my family too, and it's 2 people. First person was my mother, Christine Nevills. I grew up in North County, St. Louis. It's an affluent area at the time, a lot of white students, but she made sure she was very intentional with me growing up, that I understood my culture and my heritage. She went as far as to put together some sort of a Black History Month display within the school that I was at. So, that I was recognized, the students like me were recognized. And then, honestly, man, as I'm getting, I won't say older, but as I'm becoming more mature and my own person, it's my dad. He grew up in Mississippi in the mid 40s. We're talking about pre-civil rights era. And as I read more about it, there's a lot of literature I've read during this journey about the things that went down in the South, and the fact that he made it to Missouri and, birthed and raised me is an absolute journey. So I really owe it to him in kind. I'm still fortunate to have him at 77 years to really pick his brain while I have him in this world, to really understand what he went through and how he persevered.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. That's a huge question. And a lot of you went back to your families and speaking from your heart. So we're going to check again to see if there's been any comments left or questions. Armando Johnson says, I love this panel and I'm proud to know DC and Sean, you two just have big smiles on your face. My question is, how proud do you think we teachers are in Missouri of you all? So that's a fun question.
I was going to say, listen, in this room, in this space we got right now, all right, we're representing I-70. We got DC over in St. Louis. We got Dr. Marshall over in KC. You got me in mid-Missouri. This is like the I-70 thing, but listen, how proud do we think Missouri teachers are of you all? It's who we do it for. And I'm still DC shy because he's going to take it, but we do this for everybody, especially our own kind. This is for the culture, particularly Black teachers, because we're not represented. And in our podcast that me and DC did, especially Black male, we're talking about 2%. 2%. You understand me? So we have to do it for each other. We have to do it for the culture, but we have to do it for our students that need to see diversity, need to see representation. Thank you, Armando over in Springfield Public Schools, man.
Hey, can I give a quick shout out to Armando? Him and I, we were in a conference a couple of weeks ago down in Lake of the Ozarks. And one of the things we talked about was there's a leak in the pipeline of education and how the numbers for, African-Americans or people of color in education is extremely low. And Armando, we go break down those barriers, man, and we go keep it pushing and get more people of color in this profession because it is needed, man. These kids need to see their reflection, and the kids who are not, people of color, they need someone who can represent them and, show them what it's really about. So I appreciate you, Armando, man. Thank you.
So,
I would say that in the Kansas City Public Schools, My teachers really encourage me. I get calls and text messages all the time, them, thanking me for, my hard work. And I just see all their hard work and, just a reflection on the smiles on our kids' faces and the increased test scores, so it just feels real good to know that we have this team, who really definitely care for each other in this mission, so I really feel good about that.
Well, thank you all three for responding to that. I'm going to wait a second to see if we have any more questions or comments that pop up. If not, we will move on to question number 3. And Christy Spears, hey, that's our girl. Such a great panel of inspiration. Do it for our students. Couldn't agree more. Christy, thank you for chiming in. Hey, DC and Sean, you know Christy pretty well. She helps us a lot at MOSHAPE.
She remembers she lost to this right here. I got her. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I got you, Christy. Remember that. We always gonna remember.
April says, we are so proud of you and all Black teachers. Preach. Shout out to my sorority sister, Adrianna, Raytown Quality School District. Look at that. Dr. Marshall getting some shout outs on her first ever MOSHAPE channel. And what are you, the panelists, to say to future teachers of color? That's a very good question, Reese. As a matter of fact, that is part of what our next question is going to be. So we're going to address that here in just a moment with our third question with the panel. So let's go ahead and get straight to it, guys. What advice would you give to educators and future professionals from the Black community? Let's start with Dr. Marshall on this one.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say this. I have been a pre-K violin teacher and I've been a college professor. And what I've seen is the way to really make it is you cannot give up. I don't care what standardized test you have to retake, what class you have to see your way through, what book you have to reread. It's not gonna, it's not gonna make a difference at the end of the day. As long as you get to the classroom somehow, some way, even if you start as a para and work your way up, we need you. And we're just, you really have to think about your community. You got to think about your future, right? If there would not be a doctor, if there was not a teacher, there would not be an astronaut, if there was not a teacher. It is the most important job that we can have. And I have seen students be counseled out of education programs because there's nothing more powerful than, yes, a Black man in the classroom, a Black educational leader like our superintendent, Dr. Bedell, and what he has done. No matter what, he has stuck by us and he had goals and he has made them come true for our community. He's not from Kansas City. He's not from Missouri. He did that for us. And so you just really have to just understand that you can make it. No matter who tries to tear you down, don't let it happen. You got to stay true to your heart.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. That was a very powerful answer, and I appreciate that. Sean, what about you? What advice would you give to educators and future professionals from the Black community?
I am who I am, first off, because of the people I'm around, like the people in this space. But I also am who I am because of our organizations, Shape America and MOSHAPE. Because I broke out of myself to give to our organizations, our national organization, our state affiliate, I am who I am. And I encourage all of our Black educators and educators of color to do that, because you will gain so much professionally and personally through that journey. Just as a coach, you say we're buying in. That's essentially what it is. Buy into these programs, buy into the faces you're seeing, buy into the people who are part of this profession, because you're going to gain so much out of it. I've gained new friends. I've gained a new understanding. I've elevated my platform to be on these kind of conversations, but you have to do it. You have to do it. Be unapologetically Black and bring that to some people that need to hear it. Bring it to your organizations. Take it to your school. Take it to your community. Take it to these groups. I want to shout out real quick our MOSHAPE EDI committee: Jason Grzeski, Brandy Lynch, Shannon Higgins, Brooke Jenkins, Dominique Jackson, Anna Force Lee, our president. These people came on board for a change, but they had to break out of themselves to do that. So thank you all, and that's what I encourage those current and future educators to do.
Sean, thank you for sharing that. And as a MOSHAPE board member, I appreciate all you've brought to the table for us to encourage the equity and diversity, not only within, our great organization, but just all around the country as you do the Shape America EDI podcast as well. And DC, bring us home on this third question, man. What advice would you give to educators and future professionals from the Black community?
When Dr. Marshall was just talking about those different barriers and things like that, and, keep pushing through and not letting anything hold you back. I feel like you were talking to me back when I was in college because, girl, it took me 7 years to get my bachelor's. And there were so many times I just wanted to give up. I didn't think I could do this because I didn't feel like I was smart enough. But I think the thing most importantly for me was understanding that even more than my education, I was able to use my experiences, both good and bad, to connect with my students. That's what it's all about. When you get this role as an educator, man, be you and they will adjust. Allow them to get to know you, be authentic, and let these kids understand who you are. You know what I mean? I think, being an educator, you have a hand in the future. Like, as cliche as that sound, you can change the trajectory of how kids see things, how all of this stuff is happening. I think just when you get this job as a teacher, don't take it for granted and know that you have the power to change the lives of so many kids. So grind it out, no matter how hard it is, and get in here because, kids need to see color.
Hey, and you do it right, you'll end up being a teacher of the year someday, right, DC?
It's not even about that. Look, if you are teacher of the year, hey, let's do this together. Let's be great together.
You know what? Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Definitely to address the DC, and I told him this before, but I have to say it again on this broader forum, is that when I was my first years of teaching, it was hard because I didn't have a standard. There wasn't many Black teachers. There's plenty of Black coaches, but what about Black PE teachers? So, when everything kind of happened at the right time, me being a part of MOSHAPE and DC doing what he did, that encouraged me to want to be back in the classroom. That's why I am where I am. And, I feel like I'm thriving because there's the example right there, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Darrion Cockrell. That's it. That's not just the state of Missouri. That's the nation.
Not to cut you off. I'm just going to say this. I was talking with my students just about, Black History Month and stuff like that. And the kids were like, but Mr. DC, aren't you like Black history? I said, I guess I am. So I had to go call somebody from DC, and I asked, I'm like, am I the first Black male teacher of the year in the state of Missouri? And he said, yes. And I didn't even really trip off that. And when it hit me, I'm like, bro, I am Black history.
And get your receipt. Get your receipt on that.
Bro, it goes to show that, growing up the way that I did in the city of St. Louis, trying to sell drugs and, being in the gang and stuff like that, turning my life around, like, the future is bright. As long as you are alive and you are living and you are breathing, you have the power to change your life. Do not let your past define you. Use that as a boost to push you forward so you can conquer greatness, because that's what I did. And if I can do it, I guarantee you anybody can do it. And that's facts.
Wow, guys.
Dr. Marshall, too. Listen, one of kind of those also unrepresented voices of Black women. So I'm truly blessed to know Dr. Marshall. We found each other during this pandemic virtually. I think we still need to meet in person eventually. The time's gonna come, but Sister Bad, she know what she's doing. She know what she's talking about. So we got something on from the virtual convention back in November 2020. Y'all check her out.
Yeah, and guys, thank you so much for that. That's awesome. We got a comment here. I love the advocacy and diversity that Dr. Marshall has brought to our district, to both our teachers and students. Dr. Marshall, you have some more people from your district shouting you out.
Give her roses, y'all. Keep giving her roses.
No, KC in the house.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Let's check to see if we have any more comments or questions here. And if we don't, I do kind of have one question that kind of, Dr. Marshall, we got to talk a little bit on the air before this, and obviously I'm live with you, so I can't really type in a question. So we mentioned earlier in the pod that DC and Sean, and we were talking before the show about the percent of educators that are of the Black community, and I don't want to misquote them. It was around 2%, I believe they said, and they did that on a podcast. Dr. Marshall, what has been the biggest challenge for you, not only as we just mentioned it. You're a woman and you're part of the Black community, and now you're a leader for your district. What was that journey like for you? I'd love to hear your story about what got you there.
I'm from Kansas City, born and raised. Actually, my grandparents met on a met on a date in 18th and Vine. Like, this is my home. I was away for a while for my studies. You know, I went to HBCU for undergrad, went to Xavier University because my mom knew that she wanted all of her children to go to a place where you could be celebrated for being Black. It's like the last time you can be Black and cool. 4 years, maybe 5, and then you go on. I did my master's at the Peabody Conservatory of Johns Hopkins, and I earned my PhD in 2013 at the University of Florida in string music education. And I am like one of the first to be able to earn that degree, music ed, as a Black woman. So, and it was a tough road the whole time. It was a tough road. I will say that I got a lot of inspiration and help through and guidance through my undergrad. Like, they really helped me to make it. And being able to come back home to Kansas City and to see a need. You know, over the years, I was rebuilding music programs all over the country and still, you know, keeping up with the news in Kansas City and kind of feeling guilty, like, ooh, you know. And so when the opportunity came to come back home, you know, I was excited. I was excited to jump in. I remember I met Dr. Daryl Davis, and he said to me, "Are you ready to come and work for KCPS?" And I was like, maybe I am ready. So it's been a wonderful journey. And just like DC said, you know, your story will help students figure out their way. You know, I remember I was pregnant when I first started teaching in the district, and you know, kids would ask you all kinds of questions. And this little girl said, "So let me get this straight. You finished all your schooling, then you got married, then you had a baby?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You know, that's the way I want to do this." I was like, "Yes, do it that way. It's easier," you know? So, you know, you can really inspire kids just through your, just through your story. And, I just love having so many kids who are playing in orchestra. I learned how to play viola in the Kansas City public schools in the 80s. And so I know that really changed my life. DC, don't look at me like that.
Hey, you know what you're saying right now? No, as you're saying this, like, so my gym, I'm right next to strings. So I got my kids going into the strings and coming back to my class, and I absolutely love it. You know, I have a huge respect for music, for strings, for piano and everything. I understand that with different music that you learn, you use different parts of your brain, so it's making you smile. I have a huge appreciation. So thank you. I love you. And I'm glad that, you know, other Black people can see that, you know, just as a Black person, don't mean you can't play the violin or any other kind of instrument. So you can do more than just rap or just sing.
Exactly. And, you know, I get that a lot. And if I tell somebody I'm a musician, they automatically say, "Oh, you're a gospel singer?"
Are you though?
I wish. I wish I could have did the Super Bowl with Mary. No.
That's awesome. So thank you for sharing your story. Our theme at MOSHAPE this year, actually from our president, Anna Forcelito, is sharing our story 2022. So I kind of wanted to give you that opportunity. Real quick, we're getting ready to wrap up the show. So if anybody has any comments they want to make or questions, we're open. Carrie King says, "We have several PE teachers retiring. How can we recruit more Black teachers?" Well, Dr. Marshall, you are the coordinator for Kansas City Public Schools, so that's right down your alley. We'll let the other two comment as well. Dr. Marshall, what do you think?
First of all, Carrie is one of our teachers, and she's one of our best teachers, and she has put in her years, her hard work, her commitment. I mean, I don't know how many years she has went through the semesters and then summer and then right back in, always there to help. We are hiring. You know, if you want to come to Kansas City, don't look. But I would say, you know, you have to get in, you have to dig in and fill out the application and look remarkable on there and get yourself an interview. And then I might talk to you and be mean and then be like, "You're hired. Come on in."
So DC, as a Black educator, what when you've done the interview processes, you have your career going. Kind of on that realm, what would you give advice to? Maybe we kind of already addressed this question a little bit about encouraging Black teachers. So how do you think, like in your district, you can help promote hiring more Black educators?
I think just using my platform, not only as a teacher of the year, but just as an educator, and how I represent myself and how I advocate and just promote and elevate the profession. But also just letting Black people know, like, you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be intimidated. Be you, be often, be authentic, and just go in with a good mindset and confident and know your stuff. Just because you're a person of color doesn't mean that you deserve the job, but we do want more people who are qualified and ready to step in that role and understand the power that they have to change the lives of these kids and impact them. So just when you get that opportunity, be ready to run with it, because we need you. We need you to come in strong and, with a good mindset and ready to make change, be the change you want to see.
Sean?
Go ahead, Dr. Marshall.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Marshall.
You know what? And I also would like to challenge the colleges here in Missouri and the teacher education programs about the recruiting and the encouraging, and, making sure that the curriculum is progressive and there's really good field experiences, which is something I talk about in my dissertation. That's what it takes. We cannot, how are we going to get teachers if the colleges are not recruiting from the Black community to come into education? We could get them through high school, but everyone's going to have to step up.
Absolutely. Please provide more resources and opportunities.
Yes, please, universities.
All right, so let's move on. Oh, Becky Fulmer, a wonderful friend of ours at MOSHAPE, says, what do you think would have the biggest impact in convincing high school students to consider health and physical education as a profession? Let's start with Sean on that one, because Sean, you didn't comment on the last one, so go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. So you have to think about what's holding us back. And that's, certain areas, certain states have certain requirements. Here in Missouri, it's a half credit for health and 1 credit for physical education. That's only 3 semesters, right? So we have to be intentional with those students that we see in those classes that may have, just have a different feel of it, and that enjoy it to a different level and hang tight to them for all their years they're in the school, and let them know, show them what you do, make them a part of the class, make them do some of your work, be an official for the team sports game, or, they get to lead a lesson, something like that. Give them agency in that class. And that, that gets the brain working towards that, because we know high school students, there's 4 precious years that they have, and they have to start thinking about their careers at some point. But if we can get them in that time we have them, and give them ownership in the class, right there.
DC?
He had it right there, right then and there. You had it. You hit it right on the money, man. Just providing them with an opportunity to see, how you can use your platform as a teacher to bridge that gap between the community, build these relationships, and understand that, as a PE teacher, 1, we're more than just PE teachers. 2, we can use this as an opportunity to help kids prioritize and humanize education in every facet of the way. PE is not just about playing sports and being physically active. PE is about mental, physical, social, and emotional development. And, as long as we can touch these kids on all those levels and make those connections, and they see us doing that while also putting our own flavor into it, man, they're going to want to be PE teachers, if not an educator or just somebody who's going to change the world in a positive way.
Yeah, that's thank you guys for sharing. And I appreciate all you for joining, and thank you for all the questions and comments and everybody joining. Before we leave, I want to share one final thought with all of our viewers. And DC, Sean, Dr. Marshall, thank you so much for joining. It's been my pleasure to have you guys on, and we got to do this again. Dr. Marshall mentioned 18th and Vine in Kansas City. That's the Jazz District, Sean. I know you're there in the Columbia, Jeff City area, man. You got to come hang out with us in the Kansas City area sometime. So thank you to all our audience that joined us. I want to share one final thought with you, and then we're going to go ahead and head out from this broadcast. Thank you for joining this Black History Month celebration broadcast. And one final thing here. If you have questions, please reach out. The time is always right to do what is right. From Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am Chris Stehle. Have a great rest of your night and enjoy the rest of your week.